Faith, let's take another walk. Let's talk on the subject of the past. The past. And I'm going to come out the gate by saying your past doesn't have to be the past of what someone else remembers. Or you don't have to hold yourself in contempt or be in contempt to the past of what a person may want to remind you for or remind you of. If you've forgiven yourself and forgiveness have entered to your heart and the wrong that you have done, you have endowed yourself with love. You have committed yourself with love. Committing yourself to love, what I mean by that is that you allowed yourself to be loved. You allowed yourself to receive love. You allowed yourself to give out love. You have committed yourself to love versus committing yourself to fear, which is to ignore the opportunity to love and to give the opportunity to receive love. So if you have changed your perspective or changed your options, instead of avoiding love, you embrace it, then, of course, love has found you, which means that now you're in the driver's seat, but you don't have to be afraid anymore. And more indirectly, you don't have to be afraid of your past. So if a person says, like, I remember when you're like, I never did that. You can literally say that you never did that. Then the person could say, well, yeah, you did. You did this. And they're like, no, I never did that. Now, a person may say that you're delusional or that you're, in denial or you're deceiving yourself, trying to convince yourself that that's not true. If you've forgiven yourself, why do you have to hold yourself in contempt to thoughts that is actually beneath you? If you have surrendered and submerged to love others, to love yourself, which means even the ones that may have wronged you, intentionally wronged you, and even if it was accidental, if you made the decision to say, like, I'm going to walk in love with them regardless, then you are no longer committed to your past. Your past is just a figment of someone else's imagination. If they want to hold themselves to that image, that's them. That's their fear. That's not yours. You can't control someone else's fear. You only can control your own. And if you surrender yourself to love, then there's no longer no fear to be committed to embrace, and to be bound by. So, with that being said, if somebody tried to acknowledge your past, I remember I don't remember that. And you're not lying, or you're not being dishonest. You're actually being quite truthful. An experience or a thought is life, right? They are realities. So our experiences is what we can actually go back to in our soul. So, like, if I built a garage, say like I built a garage. If I don't have the actual visual picture, the photograph, then I have the spiritual image inside my soul that I did it. So I can always go back to that and say, yeah, as a reference, I did that, and so forth. But if a person said, like, you never did that, you could say, yeah, I did. So, but you can also go a step further with that. If you no longer want that photograph or that image inside your soul, you can remove it. Yeah, I done it. Now I'm moving on. You made peace with it. You forgiven yourself, or you made peace with it. You understood where you once was, but you're ready to go to the next stage. A thought is just that. You can stay in a thought forever. This is why some people, the saying, you're destined to repeat your past, and whatever, if you continue to do it the way you've done it, you are destined to repeat your past. So, because you're going by the blueprint, you're going by the format of how you've done it before. You don't have to. That's a choice. You can do it differently. Or they also have a saying about insanity. If you if you do the same outcome, I mean, when you do the same event expecting a different outcome, that's like insanity. Okay, I get it. Even if that's considered insanity, that's your choice. You have a choice to think that there's something new going to come out of something that never did. That's your choice. But going back to the past, you can actually be separated from your past, particularly if your past is full of torment. If it's full of there's nothing good that came from it, you can actually erase that and not bury it. Whereas in your soul, where it can summons back up and like torment your soul and like be like a this terrifying thing, you can actually remove it. But it requires you to be in a position to love those that was involved with that terror. And I don't mean fear. It means like the people that was involved that may have been led by fear to do the actions or the acts that they did towards you or put you in harm's way or whatnot. And then you have to be in a willing position to receive the love to love yourself, which is the forgiveness. So that means this is where humility is sitting, and it is waiting for you to surrender to love, waiting for love to be able to be presented. Humility is there waiting. It's like how can I say a person that volunteers to open up the door. I don't know the name, but I want to call them a servant. But if for a person that's willing to open up the door for you, this is what humility is. Humility is there to open up the door so you can walk into the presence of love. But humility requires you and requires you to surrender, to submit, and to love, to be willing to love. If you're not, that means you're on a throne of fear, and if you refuse to come down, that will be your pride. I'm not coming down there to love, because the only reason you would come down from off the throne of fear is to love. So if you're not willing to love, you're willing to walk in that continuous fear. So that sort of thing. But yeah, I went somewhere else with that, but well, maybe that's where I'm supposed to went. Anyway, excuse me. You have your past, like and we all have done things. Unfortunately, we may have been involved in things that it's not the most loving situations, but that don't necessarily mean you have to be tormented by it. You will have dreams of something chasing you, and that will be what they would call the figment of your imagination. Okay, if that is the case, your imagination is part of your soul, your mind, your will, your emotion, your intellect, and your imagination. So if those 5 areas of your soul is not filled with love, it's a possibility you are awaiting for the opportunity to be tormented by fear. So this is when the dream comes, and the dream is there to remind you or to warn you what is yet to come, what is coming, what is already there. So, or what has been there. Let me say it that way. What has been there, what is yet to come, and what is there. Okay. So we can actually confront that. I had a dream last night that this 2 nights in a row I had. It's like a continuation of the same dream. That means I'm in my soul. I'm in a place that hasn't been resolved, and I have questions, which means that I am being tormented by fear. Okay, if you want to resolve something, that's like you are in torment. Because you have questions about how to resolve it. Love is not there. If love was there, it will eliminate the questions because it removes the harm of fear. Okay? So I had this dream that, I don't know if anybody ever seen the movie Avengers, the Endgame, and Infinity War and Endgame. So there's the overall villain of the movie, or both movies, is called Thanos. He represents, like, if God represents infinity, of love. Now, if anybody want to know what love is, I think you can go to 1 Corinthians 13, and that will give a good description of what love is. 1 Corinthians 13, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I'll put the correct scripture in the description. It describes what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not proud itself. Love does not do anything that love is not a part of or love is not with. Love is true. Love is honest. There's all these sorts of things that has nothing to do with harm or put you in harm's way. And that's the job of love. I mean, I ain't gonna say the job, but that's the overall covering of love. It puts you in the place where you won't get hurt. So anyway, I'm having a dream about Thanos, and in the movie, Thanos is representing like death. He wants to wipe away. He enjoys wiping away existence. He enjoys it. You know, matter of fact, to please him is that you can't be afraid to die, or you can't be afraid to do. No, you're not afraid to die. You can't be afraid to kill. And if you are willing to do that, he considers you strong. So that means he represents death. Okay. So in my dream, in the first dream, death is chasing me. Okay. And I tried to run away and I tried to hide, but I couldn't hide because it's all the way around me. You know, and there's a little window that I try to run through so it won't catch me, so I can escape, but I can get halfway through. Half of my body was in there, half of my body was. No, how can I say that? Half of my body was outside the window, half of my body was inside the window. And so Thanos comes to me and say with a disingenuous like laugh, like he like I got you, so to speak. And he says, "What are you gonna do now?" So in my real, and when I wake up from the dream, you know, and my life is surrounded by thoughts of death. You know, if anybody who have experienced what they would call near-death situations or anything that's considered drastic goes outside of the comfort of love, it's like dramatic. It's like really horrific. It's some things that you don't want to deal with. People call it post-traumatic stress and all that other good stuff, and you know, whatever. And my life has been kind of circled around that, backwards and forward. And I get to a place of peace, then it comes back around. It comes to a place of peace, it comes back around. So uh, I go to the doctor yesterday, and just to have, you know, because I woke up a certain way, I woke up in an uncomfortable manner, and I wanted to get that addressed. Anyway, at least I wanted to get some answers, at the very least, get some answers, you know. But all I got was more questions. So it kind of put me in the same dilemma. Like it's like you are your self healer. You know, the end result is that it depends on you. I'm coming there to get answers from questions, but if the doctor doesn't have the answers, they're just telling me they're just not God. They don't have the answers. So I'm leaving it disappointed. So now there's an opportunity for that spirit of death to circle around, the spirit of fear to circle around me, and saying like, you know, your life ain't getting better. Then they infuse or they up the dosage of the medication and everything else, and but they don't know the truth. They just know some of the facts of the situation, but they're not listening. They can't see the truth because the truth is the truth is actually in eternity. So they can't really see the truth because they would have to be where love is. And to be what love is, that means you have to get down off your throne of pride, which means your ethnics, your studies, your beliefs, your customs, and how you're taught how the medical science or how it works. You have to deny that and actually listen. You have to humble yourself. So I put the doctors, and every time I go, I always put the doctors in a position, not even intentionally, that they will have to listen to love versus listen to fear. Because I'm not intentionally going out the way to challenge them or challenge what they know. I care less. But I do care about what you speak into my life. Like what you're saying to me could be a bona fide fact. Your computer, your whatever, can actually estimate what you're saying to back you up. And for the most part, us that live in fear, this is the very best that we have. So we go to the doctor, for them to give us a result, but the result we may not like because in fact we think that's the only result that's given. That's to me that's like circling the past. But anyway, so I'm dealing with that. I come home and I'm wrestling with that. I need peace in my soul. My soul doesn't have peace, so you're gonna be constantly like being tortured, so to speak, and with thoughts of this or that and this, and you just want peace. So there'll always be a way of an escape to indulge yourself further in fear, or you can find a place that's actually where there is no fear. I call that the throne of grace. The place where there is no fear is the throne of grace. And I only know one that sits on that throne. So I had to humble myself. I had to be honest. And I had to relinquish my throne, which I was full of pride that I was holding something within me. It could have been unforgiveness towards somebody, which I know that it was. It was unforgiveness towards somebody. I was holding somebody, I hold somebody responsible for something they probably don't even know that they did towards me. This gives opportunity for that to circle around me, and if it's circled around me, it's going to put pressure. And one of the strategies or one of the devices that the pressure that this fear is circling around me is going to try to give a suggestion that hey, you can go do this, and that very thing that is suggesting that you do is not going to bring you to love. It's actually going to take you away from love. So it's like you had a bad decision or a disappointing reaction, whatever, or expectation, and here come a thought. Well, you can go ahead and go give your body to this. You can go ahead and do this to this. So on one hand, the thing that it is suggesting that you present yourself to is like you can feel better physically, temporarily feel better, but it will give somewhat of a slight, relief to the mind, to the soul, but it doesn't complete the task. It doesn't chase the torment out. It's like it suppresses it, or it. So can I say suppress? I guess I'll say that. But it keeps it there. It may build up a temporary, like a paper fence, but eventually, one good blow of wind, which will be considered affliction, which could be considered like, let's go with affliction or some kind of thought of adversity. That blow of wind is going to come blow that fence down, and now it's inside your soul again, and now you're dealing with what you're dealing with on top of what else that you was dealing with before. So if it's not chased out of your soul, if torment is not moved out of your soul, and the only way torment is moved out of your soul is that love has to force it out. Torment, fear, all that is afraid of love, because love is the far most powerful. All right, love is so love it loves itself. I mean, it's not loves itself. It only does what it is, love. Okay, so it drives out harm. It drives out fear. So if any person that doesn't want love, now you understand what they're dealing with or what kind of throne they're sitting on. They're sitting on a throne that's surrounded by darkness of fear, but they're on the throne of pride. And when you asking them to love you, you asking them to come down off their throne of pride to walk in the authority of love, which is actually freeing their soul. That's why when the person says, like, when you forgive a person, you're not forgiving them necessarily just for them. You're doing it for you, because you're allowing what they did that's tormenting your soul to be removed by love. So I say all that to say, okay, I'm in. After I had the dream of that, and then I dealing with that, so I had to humble myself, and now I had to go before the throne of grace. And I had to say, Lord Jesus, I need a clean heart. I need you to renew in me the right spirit. And I had to be sincere about it in my heart. Like, when you're really hungry and you got that, like, get out my way move. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody can get it. If they're standing your way from you getting what you have to get, anybody can get it. So you're at that place with this when it comes to going to the throne of grace. You're like, anything can get it. There's nothing that's going to stand in your ways to get your freedom from this. So that's how I approach the throne of grace with this. Holy Spirit, Jesus, I need you. I need you. I need my soul to be cleansed. And it starts with me humbling myself. And I'm here to humble myself. Now, humility is there waiting. If you're there to humble yourself, that means you're there to agree hand in hand with humility. Now, humility is there waiting. Oh man, humility is there waiting for you to come down off your throne of pride. Is there waiting, and humility will walk with you side by side. It won't walk in front of you, it won't walk behind you, but it'll walk with you side by side, hand in hand. And now it will walk with you, and will show you the imprint of your soul, showing you some things that's tormenting your soul. Now, the humility is full with the Spirit of God. It's filled with love, so it's gonna flash lights on things that's tormenting you, and it will point it out like that's hurting you, that's hurting you, that's hurting you. We gotta get rid of that. It's gonna tell you what the assignment is going to be. But yet, at all this time while you're doing this, and it's walking you towards a door. This door is actually the door to love. Love awaits humility. If you don't walk with humility, love can't embrace you. So I'm walking hand in hand with humility. We get to the door. Before we get to the door, we confess that, hey, I held a person responsible for something they don't even know that they did. Now I got to correct that. That means if I have to humble myself and go and apologize, I'm going to apologize. And I'm going to tell the person what was actually done. Or the person that spitefully used me, I go ahead and bless them. And this is my testimony. This is where I go for my freedom. And I believe that any person who applies it is theirs as well. It is yours as well. So I did all that, and I still got a few more on the list that I got to scratch off that I got to go ahead and make amends to. But anyway, so we're doing all that. The humility pointed them all out by the Holy Spirit, by love, and we handled all that. Now we get to the point of the door of love. Humility, what humility would do, with one hand, grab your one hand, and with the other hand, open up the door. So humility will humble himself. Man, great. Humility will humble himself and open up the door so you can walk into the ambiance, the presence of love. And once you're in there, there is no torment. This is what I mean by saying there is no past. Now fast forward to the next dream. Now, in the actual reality, I'm confronting some things in my past that's tormenting my soul that may have led me to some decisions to lead me to further into destruction. All right? I didn't resolve of holding somebody responsible for some things that they've done to me. I didn't resolve that, so that's inside my soul. So, and to get over that, I went ahead and did some stuff that I know that's going to bring me harm. It may not start off as harm, but I know at some point harm is going to kick in from it. All right? I did that act. So now I'm asking God to forgive me for the act that I did that put me further into harm, as well as I'm asking God to forgive me for the wrong that I've done, because I'm humbling myself. And when I approach the throne, like everybody get out my way, I don't want to be nowhere else. I'm knocking on the door boldly. Let me in, not to be into a place where it's full, there's holiness, full of love. And I expect to come in, even though I got on the wrong attire, I got on the wrong clothes for this party. I can't come in with those clothes on. I got to change my attire. It's like you going to a wedding, and you got on your work clothes and you're a janitor. You can do that, but of course you're going to be looked at in a different way. You want to kind of present yourself in a way. If that's all that you have, then I get it. That's where God comes in. That's where grace and he whatever. Come with all you got, I take you. But if you have a different pair of garments and you can change them, but you refuse to change them, that's pride. That's where you will be stopped at the door and says like, well, you got to change that garment. That garment is not the clothes. The garment is the reason why you're not changing your clothes. The pride. Pride is not permitted inside the kingdom of heaven. Pride is not permitted inside the kingdom of love. It's just not. Because pride is destructive. It's going to come and try to destroy everything, which is what Lucifer did in the very beginning. He was full of pride and he tried to destroy all of heaven with just a thought. So anyway, so okay, now that's that reality of that, and now it's time to go to sleep. Later on in the evening, and I'm going to sleep, and I have the the continuation of the dream of Thanos. This time, inside the dream, I created the formula. Not I created the formula. I knew what the formula was to make Thanos, and I told a person it's better for us to go ahead to create Thanos, to lose Thanos, not create Thanos, to release Thanos to the world, so he won't hurt us now. So he won't hurt us later. So it's like if we can destroy him when he first get out there, whatever, we don't have to deal with him later. That was the intent. So we loosed him, and all of a sudden the plan backfires. I'm running for my life again. But now this time I noticed that in like the instructions of when you create Thanos, there was a counterpart. There was a rival. There was an opposition, the person that can oppose Thanos. And in the description of the ingredients, how to release Thanos to the world, it was a description like there is an assassin that is assigned to kill Thanos. Now, Thanos is chasing me and trying to hunt down anybody that's connected to him, that created him, that loose him to the world so he can get rid of them, so they won't be able to find a way to get rid of him. So he's trying to find me and another person that was working with me that loosed Thanos to the world. So Thanos is trying to hunt us down. Okay, and then we have this place where I look out a window and I see something hanging on the window ledge. Someone. It was like a ninja guy. That was the ninja guy was the one that was written in the description, who was the assassin to Thanos. Now I'm trying to get to him so he can get rid of Thanos. But I had to tell the people what I've done. I told the people, like, I did this. I lose Thanos to the world, and I did this stuff. But I only told certain people because I didn't know who I can trust. Because the people could have been working for Thanos, and Thanos could have been setting me up to kill. Remember, I'm still running for my life. But I get to the assassin, and the assassin is actually out to kill Thanos. But Thanos has still had a mission of his own to kill those who created him, who loosed him to the world, and that was me. And so I wake up from that, and what that dream taught me was that about your past, which brings me to this point. Your past doesn't have to necessarily repeat itself, or know that you have to be responsible for your past. If you allow the assassin to get rid of the torment, the assassin is. You could say it's humility, you could say it's love, you could say it's forgiveness, you could say it's all that. That's the assassin, what it is, okay? And the assassin's job is to get rid of fear, get rid of death. And this was death and fear wants to torment the soul. It wants to have you to think about things that the decisions that you made that didn't work out right. Or things that was done to you that didn't work out right. That gave you harm more so than love. He wants to remind you of this, And so even if you can't do it, even if the spirit of fear can't do it directly with thoughts, saying like, think on this, you'd be like, I ain't gonna think on that. But he would try to get the people that was involved with that to circle around. Now it depends, this is where it comes interesting. Depending on where you are in the process of humility, depending on where in the process, if you walked into the doorway of love, you have a certain kind of protection. If you haven't humbled yourself, you are very limited in protection from these thoughts. These thoughts can circle around you. So you're going to be running, literally. So this is why we go to substances, different things to escape our mind, to free our mind. Because we don't have no defense against this. It's all spiritual. We don't have a spiritual defense against these spiritual thoughts. So these thoughts keeps us on the run. So we're running. But the best defense that we possibly have is to get off the throne of pride and say, I'm going to love this person regardless. And that's the best defense. Since we won't do that, we are clothed in pride, sitting on our throne, and that will continue to allow us to be in a vicious cycle where we can be tormented. So Okay, now I done the dream. I done that, and dealing with the past. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to hold on to the past. You can let the past go. So when the people that was involved with the past come back around, because they're gonna come, because either it's an opportunity for you to love them, or it's an opportunity for them to try to torment you. Not them, but what the fear that's inside of them. So at some point, you're gonna have to face the fear. Either you're gonna face it within yourself, or you're gonna face it directly, indirectly, from the individual that was involved into that situation. All right. Now, but you don't have to be tormented by it if you're willing to step down off the throne of pride. Okay. So the people may come back around, and it's a full circle. It comes back around, and now if you have humbled yourself and got off the throne of pride, you can look at the person as no threat at all. And it's almost like you're anticipating them and you're waiting for them to come so you can embrace them with love. So you can embrace them with the opportunity to love or to hug them or whatever. Because you're not afraid anymore. Your past is no longer holding you in response or holding you responsible. It can't condemn you anymore. It can't make you feel guilty. It can't make you feel ashamed. It can't torment you anymore. It can't. Because you have embraced love. You got off your throne of pride and you humbled yourself. You sought after something that was greater than the pain that you were dealing with in your mind. It's only so much drugs, so much drinking, so much eating, so much partying, so much having casual sex or unloving sex. Let's do it that way. Unloving sex, harmful sex, whatever. There's only so much stuff that you can do that will take the edge off from the torment of thoughts. It doesn't it doesn't cure you. Those things that we do doesn't cure you, but it doesn't gives the invitation to invite more stuff in to be piled on top of the stuff that you was already dealing with. The thoughts that was constantly reminding you of pain. So we're there. We're dealing with the pride, the past, whatever. The people who's coming back around, and here they are. And now you be like, hey, how you doing? They can say, do this for me. You be like, okay. And they looking at you in like in amazement because they can't understand because they remember where you once was. Because more likely fear had led them to do an act with you that wasn't pleasant to neither one of you. But it may have been pleasant to them where they got the beneficial off of it and you came off hurt from it. And they remember you from that aspect. At least the spirit of fear, if they didn't come off their pride, and if they're not there to humble themselves, and they're not there to love, if they're not there to love you, then they're on assignment to destroy you. Which means they're going to remind you some stuff that was done if you don't have the protection. If you have the spiritual protection, the fence around you, then they're not allowed because what's inside them will bow down to what's surrounding you. That's how it goes. This is why when you get Jesus, you get it all. And I'm